Hello and welcome to Shades and Layers. I'm your host, Kutwanos Kosana-Richi, and on this episode, we are talking curated, sustainable African luxury. My guest is Melaney Oldenhof, founder and creative director of WhatWeCherish, a curated marketplace for handcrafted design from the African continent. After a decade of working as a fashion stylist in New York City, Melaney is no stranger to being her own boss, except this time around, she's leveraging her work as an outside consultant and applying it as she works directly with brands and presents them to the world. WhatWeCherish features brands that Melaney feels are underrepresented in the world's creative economy. They are well-designed, women-owned, mostly Black-owned, and sustainability-focused brands from the African continent. In our conversation, Melaney outlines her amazing journey from inspiration to launch and discusses the importance of knowing when to pivot. Let's start at the very beginning of Melaney Oldenhoff's career.
I would like to go a little bit back in there. I mean, I spent the majority of my career as a fashion editor and wardrobe stylist, being surrounded in the world of luxury. And, even though this was very creative and I really, really love all the experience that I did. I was for a decade in New York City. I was 10 years in New York. And before that, I was in Amsterdam. I studied in Amsterdam. I felt like something was lacking. And for me, that really was like kind of the fast fashion sector that in a way was still kind of like incomplete for me personally. And because I always worked as a consultant, I landed in 2019, literally in South Africa.
Okay. Oh, that's recent.
I was, yeah, that's not that long ago. I was pregnant, 7 months pregnant at that time. I did most of my pregnancy in New York. Yeah. My partner is from South Africa. And I landed here. And I saw like so much creativity and so much beautiful products. And I was literally like, fresh from New York. I didn't know much about Africa in general. And I was like, okay, wow, like why are we not having any of these products overseas? Because I'm sure that any of the people in my network will definitely love these products. So that's kind of like where I think it started brewing a little bit. And I basically was looking also for kind of a new journey. I mean, I've been a fashion editor and working in fashion basically my whole career. And I was kind of had a little bit of the feeling of like, been there, done that. I want something new. I want something different. And so I started the idea of building an e-commerce store and now selling these products overseas to Europe and to the UK. So I started working and then COVID hit us very badly.
Yeah, of course.
In 2020. So I had the time for like a very long maternity leave and also the time to start like writing on my business plan and my ideas that I had.
Right.
And that's kind of like the beginning of WhatWeCherish, that I had this idea of like, okay, I moved to the other side of the world. How can I stay also in contact, with the US and with Europe? And I see all these beautiful products and I'm going to try this, you know? So it was coming from a very, I don't know if it was naive.
No, that's great.
But
you tell me, was it naive?
I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, I worked always on the back end of like creating imagery for e-commerce, but I've never worked. I was always a consultant, so I was always a third party, but I never worked inside the corporate setting, knowing every single detail of like different departments and what is needed. So I definitely have to say, like, switching to entrepreneurship in the last 2 years, I call it my personal MBA. I learned a lot of like, what is needed and probably like beginner's mistakes, but also the things that I just didn't have the knowledge of, right? And you just learn it
as
on
you
the
go
go.
Along. Yes.
Yes.
What were some of the mistakes that stood out for you?
Well, I feel like I'm still in the middle of it. I mean, like, for instance, I don't know if it's really mistakes, but more like a learning journey where,
of course,
starting an e-commerce website, I guess if it's just your own website, like something simple, it's quite easy. But being in South Africa, where you're dealing with like a lot of import taxes and high logistic costs if you want to ship things overseas, everything that comes with that, import tax, and how do you implement these costs now into your product, because your product is maybe, let's say, I don't know, $20 and your shipping cost is $60 just to give an example. Like nobody's going to buy your product, so I needed a lot of time of actually becoming now a financial person and like diving into the numbers and speaking to people like, how do you do this?
Pricing strategy,
pricing strategy, but also like, how do I implement this into a WooCommerce website that I've never, I didn't even know WordPress. I mean, I had to teach myself WordPress. I had to teach like everything from scratch. So what is SEO? What is technical SEO? What are all the things that come with e-commerce, digital marketing? So I learned a lot. I'm not saying I'm there yet. I'm still learning. But for me, the journey was also part of what I'm really enjoying.
Right. So you're still enjoying it.
I am. But your question is like, what is WhatWeCherish? So WhatWeCherish is basically started off as an e-commerce platform that was is celebrating, African contemporary design and, arts and crafts in a more like luxurious way, bringing like a curated contemporary luxury products to you or to the customer. With a sustainable angle in it of like, supporting small businesses. Most of my vendors are female owned. Half of them are Black female owned. So there's a lot of that involved in the whole package.
And why was that important to you?
Why is it important to me? Well, I mean, for me, even though I'm very light skinned, like I'm coming from a mixed race family, so it's not just I grew up in the Netherlands, but I've experienced both sides. So I don't identify myself as only like as a white person, even though maybe depending on where you are.
It depends.
The earth, how people look at you. But for me, I was always seen, like I grew up in a very white environment where I was seen as exotic or as like different because I had very curly hair and like, bigger lips, but then I still have blue eyes. So it's like, what's going on there? So I think that is definitely, if you go back to like the core, I think that's like part of it. I think also I grew up with a mother that is always been very involved in, she worked in like refugee centers. She's like a hypnotherapist. So I come from quite an old hippie background, I guess.
I didn't want to use the word yes.
Yes, I didn't. I don't know the other way to describe it. But so I've always been very much in touch. Like, my mother used to bring me to ashrams and like,
so alternative, unconventional.
Yes. And like other cultures. And I think I always felt very also attracted to that. And I guess coming to South Africa from the luxury industry in New York City in the US, I just saw that there's quite a lot of my experience that I can bring to the table here as well, right? That I can use in a positive way. And what I was mentioning before is like, I definitely had that feeling of like, I don't know, it was almost a feeling of like, I'm not giving back in any way. I just make people look good and make them consume. But what can I do that also fills me more as a person myself? So I'm not stepping out of the luxury industry. I'm not stepping out, of the fashion and lifestyle, but
it's just a different approach to it.
A different approach of like conscious consumerism. So
I see that there are quite a few, not e-commerce only, but a lot of small brands like you have on your website, with this approach of handmade. There's a whole movement of made in Africa. What do you think is happening there? What's this trajectory?
Well, I think that the influence of African design, like internationally, has always been there. I think in the past, designers borrowed or maybe stealing, just how you call it, from African cultural heritage, depending on how you look at it. And I think now we are more at a point, I mean, if I read articles and if I see what's happening, that African fashion and Africa, has gained more global recognition, I think. And the influence is more recognized and seen, I think, now worldwide in the fashion industry, where I think it was always there, where, you know, like lots of designers would go to Africa, would go to Morocco. I mean, think even back at like Yves Saint Laurent, he was super inspired by, you know, North Africa. He was one of the first designers to use black models on his runway. Maybe he was even the first, if I'm correct. And the use of like bold colors and patterns and this reflection of like African landscape, I think. So, you know, if you look at Ankara and Kente cloth, how it became like so popular. And I just think that it's more like globally recognized now.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a natural development of, and just also, you know, acknowledging where things come from.
Yes, exactly. that whole movement. What you say, and even if if you look now at like folk business, you see that there's much more attention of like writing articles about African designers, and like obviously like with the Tebe Magugu that won like the Alfima Age Prize, and like you see more, and you see it just more everywhere. What you're saying, like it's definitely more on the surface, which is beautiful, because I think that recognition is so deserved. I feel like I'm still so new in the country. I haven't even traveled Africa yet. Like I can't say like I'm a speaker for like, you know, Pan-African, but I do love artisanal work. I love craft. I love design, and I just see a lot of it here. So I'm just working with what I love. Yeah.
Today's guest on Shades and Layers is Melaney Oldenhof, founder and creative director of WhatWeCherish, a curated digital marketplace for sustainable African luxury. There is no doubt that there has been a proliferation of e-commerce platforms for African goods online, particularly handcrafted fashion and accessories. And in the next part of our conversation, we discuss Melaney's take on the drivers behind this development. We also discuss how she recently transformed her business model and added more services for her clients, as well as why she considers WhatWeCherish a collective. So the artisanal side of things, I see that a lot of African brands are focused on, I would say then maybe slow design.
Yes.
And, you know, of course, that brings with it its own challenges, because you can't scale maybe as quickly. And then you have to charge a lot more for your goods, but then they end up getting consumed overseas instead of locally. I mean, how's that interplay working in terms of maybe the brands that are on your website as well?
So to give you a little bit of insight, so what I said, the original vision that I had was like creating the e-commerce website and direct to consumer, and then realizing also like how much money is needed in order to become high in the Google ranking, and, you know, competing with all these big e-commerce websites. I realized when I was talking to the vendors and to the brands that there was actually just a lot of requests of like help needed for visibility overseas. So it didn't have to be specifically like an e-commerce brand, but an e-commerce website. It could also be like help of like, how do you photograph things for e-commerce purposes or for marketing purposes? You know, PR, marketing, all the aspects that come with it. So I decided just at the end of last year, while I was looking at the website and everything, how things were going, that I decided to go more business to business instead of like business to consumer, because with business to consumer, you also only sell like one item at a time. Exactly. Now this item has to be made, this item has to be shipped. And what you say, there's very high cost that comes with it. So again, part of the entrepreneurial journey of like fail and error, I guess, or not fail, but you know, understanding better.
Just trying things out.
What you can do. Yeah, trying things out. So I've decided to go more business to business because I met more new people in the meantime. And I'm really loving like, you know, the African contemporary design and like furniture and like what's happening out here. It's just amazing. So I'm working on that. Like one of the brands from Ghana, I'm talking with them to becoming like a sales agency for them also, just to push more volume to brick and mortar stores, for instance, instead of just the direct to consumer. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's fantastic. So then that means you're getting into the wholesale space, basically.
Yes. Yeah, which is a whole new, it's a new part of the business plan. Like that wasn't, I mean, I had in my mind when I started the e-commerce site, I remember I had a talk with one of the vendors that does furniture. And I was like, it would be nice to have like kind of an agency aspect of what we cherish as well. So that it's really like a platform and not just a shop. And really being able to like tell the stories of these brands and like why it's so beautiful. And I think while I was talking with her, I already had a conversation, but now it's coming more actively on my path. So I'm taking that on.
That's exciting. Really, really exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
You call yourself a collective. Can you tell me what that means in real life?
Well, I see a collective also as like collaboration, right? And I feel like it's not like it's me and then I am selling these brands, so it's about me. I feel like it's about us, and I think that's the collective part of like how I experience it. Like I really think that like also changing the perception of like African goods, that one brand is not going to be enough to showcase or push or show what is out there. So I think as a collective or as like a group, you can showcase much better all the beautiful products that are being made here and that people don't know about yet.
Yeah. So what's their reception?
And also in the working.
Yeah,
and also in the like working together with people, right? I mean, it's what I said, it's not like a one-man show where it's like, I'm telling you what to do and this is what we're going to do. It's a collective. It's like, I'm working with you. I also see, I don't say vendors normally, I say partners, because I feel like we do it all together to work on this, to work on this, showcasing all these beautiful goods from Africa.
So how did you land your first client?
Well, how did I land them?
Yeah.
They came.
Yeah, I mean, did you decide, okay, these are the companies that need to be showcased, I'm going to approach them, or
It's actually kind of a cute story, if I have the time. So when I met my partner in 2018, I was still living in New York City. I was visiting South Africa because I was here for a job. I was working at the time at the OTR2 tour for Beyonce and Jay-Z. And I came to South Africa basically just for that. And so we met and we started, spending time together. And then he came to New York City because he was working for Afropunk at the time. And he came to New York City, because the Brooklyn Afropunk was coming up. And he brought me a little wooden tub with shea butter from Ghana. And I was sweet, and I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. And he's like, yeah, a friend of mine gave it to me, Maria McCloy.
Of course.
That we were like, and
how did I know?
And so he brought it, and I was I was obsessed with the look of that. I was obsessed with the look of the product. It was like a bamboo tub, and it was all engraved.
Yeah,
and it was so pretty. Yeah, and so at the time I thought by myself, and this was before I even knew that I was going to move to South Africa. I was like, oh, maybe I should start an Amazon shop because like we don't sell this here. This would do so well. So already like these thoughts were there. And then when I started doing research, way further, fast forward in the story. When I was in South Africa, I started doing research and I went back to that brand as well to look at them. And I wrote them, I created a presentation of like how I wanted the website to look like and what my vision and my mission was for my e-commerce platform. And they said yes. And so they were actually the first also to sign on with me. And so the response was positive. But then the real work started, what I said. Like I basically started reaching out with like a concept to the vendors, and they said yes, and they loved the presentation and everything. And then it was like, okay, then I thought like, oh, maybe I need like 8 monds to, put this together. And that became closer to 2 years to get it all sorted. But we're up and running now. I mean, the website is online, it's there. I mean, people can order. But what I said, like the focus from my entrepreneurial journey is going more towards business to business, which means that I'm basically switching over more to like a wholesale agency and, also reaching out to like interior designers and architects to like showcase the products that are here. And also one of the reasons for that is that the lead times, as you know, in Africa are often longer. They are longer, and it's just a fact.
It's just infrastructure,
and I think,
also.
It's just infrastructure, and like I can't, I know a lot of people are working on this to make changes, but like I can't change this overnight. So you also have to roll with what you have. And I think architects and interior designers, that there's a lot of them that don't know how many amazing stuff there is here. And by reaching out to them, I started working from this year on like a big digital lookbook that I will start like sending out, so that if people have projects that they work on with lead time, we can actually produce these products, and it's still slow fashion then in a way.
Exactly.
So
oh, that's really really great. And how have you been received in Europe and the UK, your target markets?
Well, it's funny. I think the US is, I think Europe is quite open to it, but I also do everything by myself with a couple of people, but not like, it's not, I'm still in a startup phase. Let's just be real, right? So, I mean, WWD wrote a little mentioning article, and there was another website they wrote a little article when I launched, which I was like, oh my God. And then I'm like, this is real now. The Fashion Bible has written about what we cherish. But and then there was a website in LA that also gave me some attention, and now you. So I mean,
traction.
I also but I also really believe in like organic growth. Like I don't think there is such a thing as like overnight success. I mean, unless maybe I don't know, some big investor is now like, okay, let's invest in this. Then you maybe see suddenly like a big visibility. But I really believe in like organic growth, and I still myself have to get to know a lot of vendors, reaching out to a lot of vendors. Portfolio growth. There's so much to do, and what is interesting is like, that I thought originally that I would only go to the US and Europe. And then I also partnered up with a brand from Mozambique that does amazing like social responsible work. And also asked me like, Mel, like, you're so good in talking to people, and like, can you not just like sell me in South Africa? And I did a pop-up shop just to try it out, and it sold actually quite well. And I was like, oh wow, there is also maybe a market here as well. Like, why am I only looking at the other side? The grass is always greener at the neighbors, right? So I was like, wait, there is also possibility here. So again, this all happened kind of last year, because I was only online for like a year. This all happened last year. So there's a switch happening where like now I also start talking to people here to start creating things for here as well. Which is very, very, very nice. That things go.
I would think
like
it's
that.
Probably better than international shipping, because it's so hard to, all the brands I speak to, it's like, man,
Right. But I still believe that, I really believe that if it's the right person listening, I really believe that there is, a growing popularity in, there's a growing popularity in African art and aesthetics. There's a growing popularity in sustainability after COVID. There's a rise in what you say in consumer demand for like artisanal and handmade goods. I really believe there's an under-curated market. If you look at marketplaces that are the leading ones like Etsy and Amazon, they're not curated. It's all like everybody and anybody. So that was also my thing. I think coming more from like a fashion background, I was like, I see so many beautiful things. Like, why are they not curated in the same space? Why are they like kind of getting lost maybe on an Etsy because they don't know where else to showcase their products? So
So what are your ambitions for this platform?
Oh, they're big. They're very big.
Good. Let's hear it.
Very big. I mean, I will be honest with you. I really would love to become like the best, sustainable platform in the B2B for African contemporary luxury products.
Right.
So that is in relationship to, that can be furniture and home, like lifestyle, but also for clean beauty and accessories. I stepped out of fashion. I leave that to other people. But yeah, within the home and lifestyle group, there's a lot.
That's amazing!
There.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, I have a big plans, but I know it will take time. It's nice, but it's nice to have dreams. Without dreams, who's gonna make them, right?
It's not worthwhile. Yeah, absolutely.
This is Shades and Layers, and it's now time to get into Melaney Oldenhoff's personal story, and we will expand on how her experiences as a young woman growing up in the Netherlands have shaped her entrepreneurial journey. We will get into the Shades and Layers rapid fire, and finally discuss Melaney's big dreams for what we cherish.
You mentioned that you had quite an unconventional upbringing. Is there anything else from way back then that you can remember that pointed to how, like your career choice and how you ended up where you are today?
Well, when I was young, I wanted to become a doctor, a surgeon, and which is funny. I remember as a child, I was even watching, like operations and stuff, but I didn't make it to.
What do you mean you were watching operations and stuff?
Like when I was younger, I liked all those kind of things, like things that were related to like doctor and surgeons. And my mother told me that, I wasn't, but now I'm even afraid of getting a needle in my skin. So I don't think I would have been the best doctor. But I think I was always very individual. Quite, eclectic. I remember when I was around 14 that I was in a quite preppy school, but then I would wear Dr. Martens with flowers and ripcord pants and a leather vintage salmon color coat, like these crazy outfits. So I think I always had like this sense of how do you say, aesthetics, or like being attracted to aesthetics and to
beautiful things,
to the arts, to the beautiful things that I found beautiful,
right? Of course,
at the time. And very independent. I was a very independent child, and I biked to school, and I don't know. It's hard. I almost have to ask my friends. It's hard to tell about myself, but I definitely. It's funny. I just did last year. I did an entrepreneurship course here in South Africa, and one of the things that they made you do was you had to do a couple of personality tests, to see what kind of entrepreneur you are. And so what came out of there is that I'm more like a heart-minded entrepreneur. So, which, if I look at that, it's funny because it came out of the personality test that it just basically fits with what I'm actually doing right now, right? Like collaboration. I like to collaborate with people. I don't like to work alone. I'm empathetic. All these like elements that comes to like more a heart-minded or heart-driven personality. So I think I'm in the right space. Finally.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because of my next question, and it's to do with if you had to write a memoir, right? You mentioned that you're mixed race, you were something of an exotic kid when you were growing up. But, if you had to summarize your life and give it a title, what would you call it and why?
Ooh, I didn't look at it from a childhood point of view.
Oh, but, you can look at it from later career also.
Yes, like maybe from career, I would say like something like fashion with purpose, a journey from Amsterdam to Africa.
Oh, nice.
Because, it started there. I studied fashion, management and technology. So that's where I have a bachelor degree in. And then I obviously moved to New York, and from New York to Africa. So I can call it fashion with a purpose. Like it's a journey, right? A journey of learning everything, and
fun.
That's what would come to mind.
Yeah. And if you had to turn the book into a film, who would you pick to be the lead actress in that?
Well, I really love Tracy Ellis Ross.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's very charismatic. She's confident. She's funny. She seems also like kind of an intuitive person.
Similar spirit
and
to
I think
yours,
she's,
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this is not talking for myself, but I think she's a beautiful woman. So I would be very honored if she would want to play me. And then maybe if it was my younger me, when I was younger, maybe it would be Zendaya or something.
Right.
She's fashionable, funny, a little bit quirky. So yeah, but
cool.
Aish, that's a question also. I that's like difficult.
You started saying
like,
Aish. I love that.
Yeah.
You are a local.
A local now, yeah. 5 years, so it goes fast. I mean, I'm already half of the time. I was a decade in New York, and I'm half a decade here. So it's crazy how the time flies.
Yeah.
But people will say that when they get older.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and then once kids arrive, that's it. It's over. Like your sense of time is just
it's gone.
Yeah. Great. Is there anything that you would like to mention about what we cherish that you think maybe we didn't touch on?
I mean, I definitely think for people that listen to a podcast about entrepreneurship, that it's nice to hear that it's not always roses and how do you say, roses and lavender. I feel like often on the podcast, and especially if I can say like often the American ones, it's very much about, what is it, the school of greatness and like everything is
overnight success.
It's like what you see a lot or what you hear a lot, but it's not. And I'm like in the middle of the journey, to make things happen. And as far as I enjoy the journey, I'm also very blessed and grateful that I have a partner that completely supports me, because thankfully he has a 9-to-5 job, because I don't, so yeah, I think there's a lot of things that come with it that is really not that easy. And for instance, what I said, like when I launched the e-commerce shop, like in my head, I was like, I'm gonna buy a BMW next week. You know what I mean? But like, for instance, you just think you launch it, you like all enthusiastic, you think like this, and now it's gonna happen, and then it's just quiet, right?
Yeah.
And now, like, how do you deal with the fact that things are not exactly as they are going by your plan?
Yeah.
And I think with my personality and the luck, I guess, that I have, that I've always been a freelancer, is that I know how to hustle.
Yeah.
I hustle like no one else.
So New York will teach you, right?
Yeah, New York will teach you how to hustle. So no, for sure. And especially as a freelancer, if you don't have like a full-time job, getting clients, continuing those relationships, like all of that. It's like it's so important. So yeah, I want to say, like, it's not always, everything is not always how it looks like on Instagram, for sure. But I definitely really, really still believe in what I'm doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. I really believe that there is a lot of growth possible. And yeah, what you said, I have big visions. I have big dreams of where it can go. Like, someone like Amira Rasul, who's doing the Folklore Connect. Amira, if you hear this, answer my LinkedIn emails, please. But like someone like her, she's like a real example for me of like, how to bring product overseas, how to bring it to the US. But also, when I look at those stories, it's like she also got like $1.7 million in like pre-seeding funds, right? I don't have that. I have been doing it all from scratch. So it's like, those things also make a big difference. So I think with how do you say, we say in Dutch, like, we row with what we got, right? We row the boat with what we got. So I think as where I'm at now, I still feel very confident that there's a lot of positive possible.
There's lots of possibilities. That's why I wanted to speak to you. It's very exciting. I mean, it's always these things that you're looking for but can never find. And well, I hope, I really, really, really hope that someone listening will approach you with a big fund, finance.
Yeah,
is that a desire?
Yes.
Or you're just fine going organically?
I'm fine going organically. I mean, if I also, what I said, listen to podcasts, I sometimes hear like stay away from the big money because it's not
they
all like bring always. Yeah, they want shares and they want all these things from you as well. So can you still do your creative vision or your sustainable vision, what you envisioned originally? Can you hold on to that when you get like the big money? So I'm actually happy to start small. And start building a trusting place. And I really believe in like the right people come on your path when it's the right time.
Absolutely.
And that's my belief, and I'm working with that. And all the vendors and businesses and the partners that I'm working with, and they really believe in it too. And so I think that's what you need as a collective, is that you have the same belief that what you're doing is the right thing.
Great. Yeah. Wonderful. I love that.
Thank you.
And where can people find you?
Well, they can go to whatwecherish.com. They can go to the Instagram, which is at WhatWeCherish. They can probably find me, Melaney Oldenhof, if they want to DM me directly.
Why, that's it from me. Thank you so much for your time. I'm glad we could get this together, given the current challenges.
It is. South Africa faces. Actually, right now, no load shedding. Your morning, my early afternoon, so it all works.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
And that is all from me this time around. All socials and other links are included in the show notes. Thank you for listening and for your ongoing support. If you found value in this episode, please share it with a friend. I'm Kutuanos Kosana Richie, and until next time, please do take good care.